This is a sight you don't see in many places today. A boom in full swing, whole new cities emerging, towers rising by the dozen. The ambition in Dubai and right across the Gulf is sky high, and the spending is staggering. There's more than $1.5 trillion being lavished on projects here right now. This frenzied activity reminds even the locals of an ant's nest.
It may look like it's massive, but it is not really relative to the demand. And the last time we've seen an infrastructure boom of this sort was in China in the late 80s and early 90s, and in Shanghai, which looks the same as Dubai looks today. It was the same trend and there were the same doubts.
While the world worries about recession in the US and financial markets are being starved of credit, here in the United Arab Emirates the economy is growing at a brisk pace, thanks partly to oil fetching well over $100 a barrel, but also to Dubai's diversification. It's turned itself into a hub for financial services, for tourism and for trade.
Definitely it's the opposite picture on this side of the world. Whether it's Dubai or the region around Dubai, which is really the emerging markets, the story is totally the opposite, which is interesting in a way, and it shows you that the world or the global community is not today one stream, one direction. There is two different speeds, there is two different opportunities / challenges that are happening at the same time. And depending who you are and how do you look at things and what kind of strategies you prepare, you can take advantage actually of things or, get affected by them negatively.
But with phenomenal growth come growing pains. The faster these economies run, the more they create jams with shortages in supplies, in labor, and where to put everyone.
Businesses are generally, they remain incredibly confident, but the one thing that is a really noticeable change is the uptick in concern about inflation among the people we were interviewing. So inflation is definitely a key issue. We're seeing it come through in rents, we're seeing it come through in input prices for raw materials, we're seeing it come through in labour costs.
The official data tend to underestimate inflation. But rents have gone through the roof, and that in turn is filtering through to everything else. Rising food prices are compounding the problem.
Every day I'm coming here, I'm put for my restaurant, every day expensive, every day more money.
For sure, life is more difficult, especially for people with limited incomes. Some prices have gone up more than 3 times.
It's obvious who is hurting. The army of laborers from places like Pakistan, India and the Philippines, who are building this boom and who are now a big part of the population. They already live in difficult conditions, but the money they're sending home is worth less and less as their home currencies have appreciated against the dollar. The UAE's currency, the dirham, is pegged to the dollar. But they're not alone. Many others who moved to Dubai and the rest of the Gulf are beginning to be priced out of the market.
Well, the inflation is a threat in as much as people are ignoring the fact that it impacts a slice of the economy, the slice of the society that people are not paying enough attention to. The inflation's biggest impact is not on the upper echelons of the earning scale. It's really on the middle class. And the middle class is what supports the growth in the economy in the region and in MENA in general. When people get to the point where the economic benefit of being in the region is no longer available or sustainable, then you're going to start losing that middle class. This is the biggest danger of inflation in the region.
The government's hands are tied by the dollar peg, which it refuses to drop, so it can't use monetary policy to contain inflation. It's had to resort to temporary measures, like capping rents, adding subsidies, and making deals with supermarket chains like Carrefour to control the cost of basic food items.
This is a very high growth area. The growth that's taken place here, unprecedented anywhere. And growth has taken place across all levels of industries, and even it affects the personal and individuals and their growth and their own income as individuals and as corporations. So when people talk about inflation, yes, it's there. But when you measure the real inflation and you get the net of it is, take salaries, what affect people the most. The increase in salaries sometimes reached 40 and 50%. The inflation you're talking about 11, 12% to certain areas. The net of that is not bad if you look at it, how it's affecting people.
Officials say new housing supply will catch up with demand and ease inflationary pressures. But at the same time, is too much being built? And if something goes wrong, or there's an outside shock, will the real estate market survive? Big developers, like Dubai World, are sanguine.
5 years ago, there were many contractors, very little jobs. Today, there's so many jobs, very few contractors. Supplies are not available, cement is expensive. A lot of things are expensive and not available on the market. So, and the demand is increasing. Supplies can't match it. Today, if you put 120 buildings, 20-story buildings in the market, it wouldn't be enough for the offices. And they are building more. The growth of the market, whether internally or externally, is putting a lot of pressure on demand.
But Dubai also has to keep an eye on friendly rivalry in the region. Just up the coast in the oil-rich UAE capital Abu Dhabi, investments of more than $150 billion are to transform the city and create new industries.
Abu Dhabi needs to diversify because you can't have all your eggs in one basket. This is why you see in the new vision focus on petrochemical industry, which is highly intensive in terms of energy and capital, aluminum, which is likewise, steel, which is likewise. And the advantage of these industries, they provide basic raw material to develop further downstream industries and creating cluster of industries and providing opportunities for the small, medium, large enterprises to be able to take advantage of these available resources and exploit them further into industries and creating a multiplier effect.
It might not be as easy as it once was to make a fortune in the Gulf, but many people here are convinced that the construction boom and the diversification will go on for several years, not least because the catalyst, oil prices, are expected to remain strong. The dilemma for policymakers is that as more and more is built, some bottlenecks ease, but others appear, and the boom becomes more difficult to manage. It's going to take a special kind of modern alchemy to continue turning this sand into gold. I'm Rula Khalaf reporting for the Financial Times from the UAE.